The great hall of the Galactic Assembly stretched for nearly a kilometer. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform, and each seat held a representative from a different species. Some had scales, others had fur or feathers, a few were made of living crystal. They had all come to discuss matters of trade and territory and war. Captain Sung stood at the center of it all. He wore his Earth Navy dress uniform, dark blue with silver buttons. His face was calm, though his heart beat fast. Behind him stood Lieutenant Hana, holding a data tablet and watching everything with sharp eyes. This was humanity's moment. After 200 years of space travel, Earth had finally sent representatives to ask for membership in the Galactic Concord. If they succeeded, humanity would gain protection, trade rights, and a voice in galactic matters. Sung cleared his throat and spoke into the translation device. His words would reach every being in the hall. "Honored representatives," he began, "I come before you on behalf of Earth and all human colonies. We seek to join your Concord as equal partners. We offer our friendship, our trade, and our desire for peace." For a moment there was silence. Then the laughter started. It came first from the left side of the hall, where the delegation sat. They were tall creatures, insect-like, with hard shells and multiple arms. Their leader, Ambassador, made a clicking sound that the translator turned into cruel amusement. "Equal partners," said his voice echoing through the chamber. "You, humans, are nothing but soft, weak creatures from a terrible world. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. How did you even survive long enough to build ships?" More laughter spread across the hall. Sung kept his expression neutral, but Hana saw his hands tighten into fists at his sides. An amphibian creature rose from another section. This was Counselor of the, known throughout the galaxy for his ancient wisdom. Surely he would speak fairly. "Young species," said, his wet voice bubbling through the translator. "The Concord has existed for 50,000 years. We have seen countless races rise and fall. Humans have been in space for barely 2 centuries. You are children playing at the edge of a vast ocean." "With respect," Sung replied, "every species was young once. We learn quickly. We adapt. "You adapt," interrupted. "Your bodies break from simple falls, your bones shatter, your skin tears like paper. I have seen the reports from your death world. You share your planet with creatures that eat you. You live in places of fire and ice that kill you. Your own biology fights against you with diseases and failures." He stood taller, spreading his armored arms. "They have conquered 30 systems. We are born warriors. What have humans conquered?" Sung took a breath. "We have conquered ourselves, our divisions, our hatred. Earth was torn by wars for thousands of years, but we united. "You united because you were weak," another voice called out. "The prey animals of your world gather in herds for the same reason." The laughter grew louder. Hana watched representatives from dozens of species point and whisper. She noticed that not everyone was laughing. In a far corner, a group of gray-skinned beings sat quietly. The collective, her research told her, they had been rejected once too long ago. Counselor raised a webbed hand for silence. "Humans," he said, "your petition for membership is, return in 500 years when you have something of value to offer. Until then, you may use the outer trade routes, nothing more." The hall erupted in cheers and more mockery. Species that had been silent now joined in, happy to have someone below them in the galactic order. Sung stood perfectly still. He let the noise wash over him like a wave against rock. When it finally quieted, he spoke once more. "I understand your decision," he said, "but I will leave you with this thought. Humans did not survive our world by being the strongest or the fastest or the deadliest. We survived because we never give up. We survived because when one of us falls, another stands. We survived because we fight not just with our bodies but with our minds and our hearts." He paused, looking around the hall. His eyes met. "You see weakness when you look at us. That is your mistake. Because the creatures you call weak have learned to overcome every challenge their universe has thrown at them. Every predator, every disease, every disaster, we are still here. Made a dismissive gesture. Pretty words from a pretty creature. Go home, human, grow stronger. Perhaps your great will be worth our time. Sung nodded once. He turned and walked toward the exit, Hana falling into step beside him. The laughter followed them out. In the corridor, Hana finally spoke. Captain, I am sorry. I know how much this meant. Sung shook his head. Do not be sorry, Lieutenant. We learned something valuable today. What did we learn, sir? We learned that the galaxy does not respect words. It does not respect potential. It respects only power. He looked back at the closed doors of the assembly hall. We will remember this day, and someday they will remember it too. They walked in silence to their shuttle. Neither of them noticed the officer following at a distance, recording their ship's identification codes. That night in the war room of the flagship, Ambassador studied a star map. Small blue dots marked human colony worlds. There were 23 of them, spread across a modest region of space. Their worlds are rich, said his war master. Minerals, water, fertile land, and they have almost no defenses. Clicked his mandibles in pleasure. The prey creatures have built nice homes. It would be wasteful to let them keep such resources when stronger species could use them. The conquered laws forbid attacking non-member species without cause. Then we will find cause or we will create it, pointed to a colony on the edge of human space. This one, they call it, 80,000 humans, 2 patrol ships. He made the clicking sound of laughter. Send the third fleet, take everything, kill anyone who resists. The War Master bowed, and if Earth responds. With what? Their words, their pretty speeches about never giving up, turned away from the map. Humans are prey. Prey does not fight back. They run, they hide, they die. The orders were sent that very hour. 15 warships changed course, heading for a small blue world where 80,000 humans lived their lives without knowing what was coming. In 3 weeks, they would learn what it meant to be seen as prey. And so would the morning sun rose over Colony, painting the wheat fields in shades of gold. Governor Shinbai stood at her office window, drinking tea and watching the farmers begin their work. This was her favorite time of day, when the world felt peaceful and full of promise. Meant sky in the old Korean language of Earth. The colonists had chosen the name because the planet's sky was the most beautiful blue anyone had ever seen. 80,000 people called this world home now. They had built schools and hospitals and markets. Children played in parks. Families gathered for meals. Life was good. Bai had been a military surgeon once, decades ago. She had seen enough death and pain to last several lifetimes. When the chance came to lead a colony, she took it gladly. Here, she could help people live instead of watching them die. Her assistant knocked on the door. Governor Sargent is here. Send him in. Du entered with his usual heavy steps. He was an old soldier, gray-haired and the head of small defense force. Most days he had nothing to report except minor disputes and equipment requests. Today his face was pale. Governor, he said, long-range sensors have detected ships, 15 of them, war cruisers. The teacup slipped from Bai's hand and shattered on the floor. Are you certain? Yes, ma'am. They will arrive in 4 hours. 4 hours. Bai's mind raced through possibilities. Had 2 patrol ships designed for rescue operations and asteroid surveys. Against 15 war cruisers, they would last perhaps 30 seconds. Why, she asked. We have no quarrel with we have never even met them. Du's jaw tightened. I do not know, Governor, but their weapons are charging. This is not a diplomatic visit. Bai closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, the surgeon was gone. The soldier had returned. Begin evacuation to the underground shelters, she ordered. All civilians. Priority to children and elderly. and send a distress signal to Earth on every frequency we have. The signal will take weeks to reach Earth. I know, send it anyway. Someone needs to know what happened here. The next 4 hours were chaos and fear. Parents grabbed their children. People ran through streets that had known only peace. The shelters, built long ago for meteor strikes that never came, filled with frightened faces. Young was 17 years old. He helped his parents load supplies into a transport vehicle, but his eyes kept going to the sky. His father, a wheat farmer with rough hands and a gentle heart, noticed. "Do not be afraid," his father said. "The soldiers will protect us." Young wanted to believe him, but he had seen the news feeds about He knew what those ships could do. The fleet arrived exactly on time. They filled the sky like metal locusts, blocking out the beautiful blue. The lead ship broadcast a message that echoed across the entire colony. "Humans of this world, you will surrender immediately. All resources, technology, and infrastructure now belong to the hegemony. Resistance will result in death." Governor Bai stood in the communications center, surrounded by her staff. She pressed the transmit button. "This is Governor Shin Bai of Colony. We are a peaceful agricultural settlement. We have no weapons to threaten you. Please tell us what you want. We can negotiate." The response came from Ambassador himself, watching from his flagship far away. "Negotiate. Prey does not negotiate. Prey surrenders or prey dies. You have 1 minute." Bai looked at the faces around her. Farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers, people who had never wanted to fight anyone. "We will not surrender our people to slavery," she said into the microphone. "We will not give our homes to those who would take them by force. If you want our world, you will have to take it." Laughed, "Very well, we will." The bombardment began. Plasma fire rained from the sky. The first shots struck the outer settlements, turning homes into craters. Screams filled the air as buildings collapsed. The beautiful golden wheat fields burned. Sergeant Du had positioned his tiny force as best he could. 300 soldiers with rifles and shoulder-mounted rockets against an invasion army. It was hopeless, and everyone knew it. But they did not run. The landing craft descended, each one carrying 100 warriors. They expected to find cowering prey, easy targets, quick victory. They found something else. Farmers who had set traps in the fields. Engineers who had rigged buildings to explode. Teachers who directed the evacuation routes while firing weapons they had learned to use in the past 4 hours. Even children as young as 12 carried ammunition to the fighters. Young's parents pushed him toward the shelter entrance. "Go," his mother said, "live. I want to help fight." His father grabbed his shoulders. "You will help by surviving. Someone must remember what happened here. Someone must tell Earth." A bomb struck 30 meters away. Young was thrown to the ground, his ears ringing. When he looked up, his parents were gone. Where they had stood, there was only fire and smoke and silence. He screamed. He cried. Other hands pulled him into the shelter as the world above became hell. The battle lasted 9 hours. They expected it to last one. They could not understand why the humans kept fighting. Warriors with missing limbs continued to shoot. Medics dragged wounded to safety under heavy fire, then picked up weapons themselves. Old men and women who could barely walk still threw rocks and bottles filled with burning fuel. Sergeant Du died holding a bridge that protected the main shelter entrance. He took 19 with him. Governor Bai broadcast her final message from the burning communications center. "This is Colony. We are under attack by the hegemony. We have done nothing wrong. We only wanted to live in peace, but we will not die on our knees. Remember us. Remember what was done here, and do not let it happen again." The communication tower exploded. The message ended, but it was already traveling through space at the speed of light, racing toward Earth. When the sun set on, the colony was in ruins. 60,000 humans were dead. The survivors huddled in underground shelters, hoping they would not find them. The commander looked at his casualty reports and could not believe what he was reading. He had lost 4,000 warriors, 4,000 elite soldiers killed by farmers and teachers. He reported to "The colony is taken, ambassador, but the humans fought harder than any prey species I have ever seen. They would not stop, even when wounded, even when dying. They kept fighting." Felt a flicker of unease, but he pushed it away. They were desperate. Desperation makes even prey creatures dangerous for a moment. It means nothing. Begin the resource extraction. But deep in the shelter, Young sat in the darkness, surrounded by other orphans. His face was still streaked with tears, but his eyes had changed. They were no longer the eyes of a boy who dreamed of adventure. They were the eyes of someone who had lost everything and had nothing left but a single purpose: revenge. 3 weeks later, in the United Earth Command Center on Luna, Admiral Park watched the distress signal from. She saw the burning fields. She heard Bai's final words. She watched the casualty numbers scroll across her screen. 60,000 dead, women, children, families. The Admiral's face did not move. Her eyes did not water, but her hands slowly closed into a fist so tight that her knuckles turned white. "Mobilize," she said. Around her, officers began to move. Screens lit up. Communications channels opened. The galaxy had awakened a sleeping giant, and it was very, very angry. The news of colony spread across human space like fire through dry grass. Every news channel, every social network, every communication device carried the same images: burning fields, collapsed buildings, the faces of the dead, and the final words of Governor Shinbai: "Remember us." On Earth, people gathered in streets and parks, holding candles and photographs of lost relatives. 60,000 names were read aloud in ceremonies that lasted for days. Grief turned to anger. Anger turned to something colder, something harder. Prime Minister O stood before the United Earth Parliament in the Great Hall where humanity had once debated its own divisions. Now, for the first time in generations, every seat was filled. Every representative was silent. Every eye was focused on her. 3 weeks ago, she began, her voice steady despite the weight of what she carried, the hegemony attacked our colony without warning and without cause. They killed 60,000 of our brothers and sisters. They burned our fields. They destroyed our homes. They believed we were weak. They believed we would do nothing. She paused, letting the silence grow heavy. They were wrong. The Parliament chamber erupted in a sound that was not quite applause. It was something deeper, a roar of unity that came from the very soul of the human race. When quiet returned, continued, "I have authorized full military response, not for conquest, not for empire, but for justice. The galaxy will learn that humanity does not forget, humanity does not forgive unprovoked murder, and humanity does not back down." Far from Earth, at the Luna shipyards on the dark side of the moon, Admiral Park walked through corridors that very few people knew existed. Behind her came Dr. Nam Wu, chief weapons scientist of Earth's Military Research Division. They stopped at a massive blast door marked with only a number: 7. "Show me," said. Wu pressed his hand to a scanner. The door opened, revealing a view that would have shocked the entire galaxy. Ships, hundreds of them, dreadnoughts the size of small cities, carriers that could launch thousands of fighters, destroyers built for speed and death. They floated in the darkness of an underground hangar that stretched for kilometers in every direction. 312 vessels, Wu said. "We have been building them for 40 years, ever since first contact. We knew the galaxy would not welcome us. We knew that someday we would need to protect ourselves." Walked to the edge of the observation platform, looking down at the fleet. The Galactic Assembly called us weak. They laughed at our petition. They thought we had nothing. "That was the plan," Wu said. "Let them underestimate us. Let them think we are prey. Meanwhile, study them, learn their weaknesses, prepare for the day they would come for us. And their weaknesses. Wu smiled, though there was no warmth in it. Every species has them. The shells are strong but brittle at certain frequencies. The Kanats survive in dry environments. The ships depend on central command structures that can be disrupted. He handed a data tablet. 40 years of research. Countermeasures for every major species in the Conquered. They built their weapons to fight each other. We built ours to fight all of them. Scrolled through the information. Plasma weapons with frequency modulators. Shield technology that adapted to incoming fire. Communication systems that could cut through any jamming. And something called Project Sunrise that made her eyebrows rise. "Can we really do this?" she asked. "We can. The question is whether we should." Thought of the images from the burning fields, the bodies of children, the final message of a governor who refused to surrender. "Launch preparations," she said. "All ships, full combat readiness." The word spread through the hidden shipyards. Engineers who had spent decades building these vessels in secret now worked day and night to prepare them for war. Soldiers reported to their assigned ships. Pilots ran final checks on their fighters. And across human space, volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Old veterans who had fought in Earth's last wars came out of retirement. Young people who had never held a weapon demanded to be trained. Mothers and fathers who had lost children requested transfer to combat units. Captain Sung stood in the command center of the flagship, looking at the name painted on its hull through the observation window. The vessel was 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons, carrying enough firepower to level a moon. They had named it Unyielding Dawn. "Captain," Lieutenant Hana approached, now wearing the uniform of a tactical officer. "The crew is assembled. We are ready for your orders." Sung turned to face her. "Lieutenant, I was humiliated in that assembly hall. They laughed at us, at me, at everything we represented." "I remember, sir. I made them a promise that day. I told them we never give up. I told them that was not weakness but strength." He looked back at the fleet visible through the window. "Now we will show them what I meant." Hana reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. "Sir, I have something. I compiled it after we received the casualty lists from." "What is it?" "Names, every human who died in the attack, every man, woman, and child. I thought we should carry them with us, so they can see what happens next." Sung took the chip carefully, as if it were made of glass. "Thank you, Lieutenant. We will make sure they see." The final briefing took place in the war room of Luna Command. Admiral stood before a holographic map of space, while Prime Minister watched via secure video link. "The target is Volar," said, pointing to a star system deep in territory. "Their largest military installation. Shipyards, weapons factories, command centers. If we destroy it, we break the back of their war machine." "What resistance can we expect?" asked. "Intelligence suggests between 100 and 150 vessels. We will have numerical advantage, but they will have defensive positions and home territory." "Casualties?" Paused. "Estimated between 5 and 15% of our force. 15,000 to 45,000 personnel." The number hung in the air, closed her eyes for a moment. "Is there any other way?" "No, Prime Minister. If we do not respond with overwhelming force, they will attack again. Other species will see us as easy targets. More colonies will burn. More children will die." Nodded slowly. "Then you have my authorization. Bring our people home safely, Admiral, as many as you can." "Yes, ma'am." 2 hours later, the fleet launched. 312 ships rose from the hidden docks of Luna, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. They formed into perfect formation, a wall of metal and determination that stretched across thousands of kilometers. Admiral stood on the bridge of Unyielding Dawn, watching Earth grow smaller in the rear cameras. Behind her, Captain Sung commanded the crew. Lieutenant Hana coordinated communications between all ships. "Fleet status?" asked. "All vessels report ready," Hana said. "Hyperspace coordinates locked." Opened a channel to every ship in the Armada. Her voice would reach over 200,000 personnel. "Soldiers of Earth," she said. "You know why we are here. You know what was done to our people. The galaxy looked at humanity and saw weakness. They saw prey. They thought we would run and hide and beg for mercy." She paused, letting her words settle. "They were wrong. We do not run. We do not hide. We do not beg. We are humans. We are the children of a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years, and we are still here." Across the fleet, men and women stood, hands tightened on weapons and controls. "Today we show the galaxy what humanity is made of, not for empire, not for conquest, for justice, for our fallen brothers and sisters, for—" The response came from every ship at once, a single word shouted by 200,000 voices: "For HANEUL." Nodded to the navigation officer, "Engage hyperspace." The Armada of the Fallen vanished into the light, carrying humanity's fury toward the stars. The early warning station at the edge of the Volar system was staffed by 12 bored soldiers. Nothing ever happened here. The humans had been defeated, their colony burned, their weakness proven. The war was over before it began. Then the sensors screamed. "Contact," the station commander shouted. "Hyperspace signatures multiple." "How many ships?" The technician stared at his screen, mandibles clicking in confusion. "That cannot be right. The instruments must be broken." "How many ships?" 300, maybe more." The commander grabbed the communication controls. "Volar Command, this is Outpost 7. We have massive hyperspace signatures incoming. Repeat, massive signatures. This is not a drill." The response came quickly. "Outpost 7, confirm count. Are you saying 300 vessels?" "Yes, Command, 300 plus. They are human ships." Silence on the other end. Then, "That is impossible. Humans do not have 300 ships. They barely have 30. "Tell that to my sensors, Command. They will arrive in 10 minutes. At the heart of the Volar system, War Master received the report with disbelief. He had been promoted after the success at given command of the most important military installation in space. It was supposed to be a reward, a comfortable position far from any danger. Now he stared at numbers that made no sense. "How?" he demanded. "Where did they get 300 warships?" His officers had no answer. The intelligence reports had been clear. Humanity had a small defensive fleet, nothing more. They were prey, weak and fragile and afraid. "Form defensive positions," ordered, his voice tight with something that might have been fear. "All ships to battle stations. Activate the orbital weapons platforms. These humans will learn that Volar is not some farming colony." 118 vessels moved into formation around the massive space station that served as the heart of their military power. Weapons charged, shields activated, warriors prepared for battle. They did not have to wait long. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, ship after ship after ship, appearing like stars being born from the void. They spread across space in a wall of metal and light that seemed to stretch forever. On the bridge of unyielding dawn, Admiral Park watched the scramble into defensive positions. She felt nothing but cold determination. "Status of enemy fleet?" she asked. 118 vessels, Lieutenant Hana reported, plus the station and 12 orbital platforms. They are forming a sphere defense around the station. "Standard tactics, they expect us to attack head-on into their strongest point," smiled slightly. "We will not." Captain Sung stood beside her, studying the tactical display. "Admiral, incoming communication from the commander." "Put it through." Appeared on the screen, his insect face twisted into what might have been anger or fear. Human commander, you are trespassing in space. Turn back now, and we may allow you to leave alive. His expression did not change. War Master, I remember you. You laughed at our petition in the assembly. You called us prey. You are prey. This changes nothing. Your ships are impressive, but they are untested. Ours have conquered 30 systems. Your ships attacked unarmed civilians, women, children, farmers who only wanted to grow food in peace. His voice grew colder. You killed 60,000 humans and called it a demonstration of strength. Today, we will show you what strength really means. You cannot win here, human. I am offering you one chance. Surrender now. Turn over all personnel involved in the massacre for trial. Accept full responsibility for your crimes. Do this, and we will spare your lives. Made the clicking sound of laughter. Surrender to prey. I will mount your skull on my wall, human. Then you have chosen. Cut the communication. All ships execute attack pattern unity. Let them see what prey can do. The battle began. Human ships did not charge straight at the formation. Instead, they split into dozens of smaller groups, attacking from every direction at once. They used speed and coordination that they had never seen before. Dr. Wu's weapons worked exactly as promised. Human plasma cannons fired at the exact frequency that made shells crack and shatter. Missiles carried warheads that disrupted their shield harmonics. Communication jammers isolated their ships from each other, forcing them to fight alone. Their formation is breaking, Hana shouted. Enemy vessels are attempting to regroup. Press the attack, ordered. Do not give them time to recover. On the bridge of his flagship, watched in horror as his carefully planned defense fell apart. Human ships moved like nothing he had ever seen, predicting tactics before they could be executed. When one of his cruisers charged toward a human destroyer, 3 other human ships would appear from unexpected angles, catching it in crossfire. How are they doing this? He screamed. They are supposed to be primitive, weak. His officers had no answer. They were too busy dying. Captain Sung led the assault on the main station. Unyielding dawn carved through the defenders like a blade through water, its weapons firing in perfectly timed volleys. Around it, human ships worked in seamless coordination, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. A torpedo struck the port side of Unyielding Dawn. The ship shook. Fires broke out on 3 decks. Damage reports flooded the bridge. Hull breach on Deck 7, an officer shouted. Engineering reports damage to the secondary reactor. Sung gripped his command chair. Seal the breach, reroute power, continue firing. The ship had taken damage that would have crippled a vessel, but it kept fighting. Its crew kept working. No one ran, no one surrendered. Lieutenant Hana opened a channel to the fleet. In her hand, she held the data chip with the names of the dead. To all ships, she said, I am reading the names of those who died at Shin Mi-young, age 4, Dongmin, age 72, Park Jin, age 31. The names flowed through the communication channels of every human ship. Soldiers fighting hand-to-hand in boarding actions heard them. Pilots dodging enemy fire heard them. Engineers struggling to keep damaged ships running heard them. And they fought harder. Young stood in the observation deck of a carrier ship, watching the battle through reinforced glass. He had been rescued from along with the other survivors and brought to Earth. Now he wore an ensign's uniform, too young for combat but old enough to witness. A cruiser exploded in the distance, its pieces scattering like broken shells. Young thought of his parents. He thought of the farm that would never grow wheat again. You called us prey, he whispered. Prey runs, we hunt. The battle lasted 4 hours. By the end, the defense had been shattered. 83 of their 118 ships were destroyed or disabled. The orbital platforms were dust. The station itself was surrounded, its weapons silent, its shields failing. Admiral opened a final communication to the commander. War Master, your fleet is destroyed. Your station is surrounded. You have one chance to surrender before we finish this. Appeared on the screen. His face was burned. His uniform was torn. His arrogance was gone. You have won, he said, his voice barely a whisper. We surrender. Do you accept responsibility for the massacre at Colony? I was following orders. The decision was not. Do you accept responsibility? A long pause, then defeated, yes. Nodded. Your personnel will be taken into custody. You will face trial for crimes against humanity. This war is over. She closed the channel and looked at the burning remains of the fleet. Somewhere in that wreckage were 4,000 human dead, brave men and women who had given their lives for justice. But 60,000 souls could rest now. Hana approached with a report. Admiral, High Command has sent a message. They are requesting immediate peace negotiations. Turn to look at the stars. Tell them we will negotiate, but not here. We will meet at the Galactic Assembly. Let the whole galaxy see what happens to those who mistake kindness for weakness. 1 month after the Battle of Volar, the Galactic Assembly gathered again in the Great Hall on Prime. But this time, everything was different. The seats that once held laughing representatives now held silent, nervous beings. Species that had mocked humanity's petition stared at their notes and avoided eye contact. The delegation was notably smaller, their remaining ambassadors sitting in the back row instead of their former place of honor. And outside, visible through the massive windows of the hall, floated the human fleet. 270 ships had survived the battle. They hung in space like a silent promise, their weapons ready, their crews watching. Captain Sung entered the chamber first, wearing his dress uniform. Behind him came Lieutenant Hana, then Admiral Park, and finally Prime Minister Oh herself. They walked to the central platform, their footsteps echoing in the uncomfortable silence. Sung looked around at the faces he remembered from his last visit. Counselor, the amphibian elder who had called humanity children. The representatives who had clicked their mandibles in laughter. The scaled beings and the furred ones and the crystalline creatures who had all agreed that humans were not worth their time. None of them were laughing now. Counselor rose slowly from his seat. His wet voice trembled slightly as he spoke. Representatives of Earth, he said, the Galactic Concord wishes to formally apologize for the events that have transpired. The attack on your colony was unprovoked and unjust. We should have intervened. We should have protected you. Sung remained silent. He had learned that silence could be more powerful than words. Continued, his voice growing more desperate. In light of recent events, the Concord is prepared to offer humanity immediate full membership, all trade rights, full voting status, protection under all Concord laws. We recognize that our earlier rejection was a mistake. Prime Minister stepped forward. She was a small woman, barely reaching Sung's shoulder, but her presence filled the chamber. A mistake, she repeated. 60,000 of our people are dead, families destroyed, children burned in their homes, and you call it a mistake. His throat made a wet, nervous sound. Prime Minister, please, we wish only to. You wish to cover your shame. You wish to bring us into your Concord so you can claim you were always our friends. Shook her head slowly. We decline. Gasps spread through the assembly. Species that had been planning to welcome humanity into their political games suddenly found themselves off balance. You decline, asked. But the Concord offers protection, trade, influence. Surely you understand the benefits. We understand perfectly, said. The Concord watched while the planned their attack. Your intelligence services knew what was coming. Some of you even hoped we would be destroyed, one less competitor in the galaxy. She looked around at the guilty faces. Do not pretend otherwise. We intercepted your communications. Silence, absolute crushing silence. Humanity will not join an organization that measures worth by the sharpness of claws or the hardness of shells. Continued. We will not join a club that laughs at newcomers and then offers friendship only after blood has been spilled. Then what do you want? Asked. Something new, gestured to Hana, who activated a holographic display. A symbol appeared in the air, a circle containing many smaller circles, each one different in size and color but all connected. We propose the alliance of free worlds. No hierarchy based on age or power. No species above another. Membership based on respect, cooperation, and mutual defense. That is idealistic nonsense, a representative called out. The strong will always rule the weak. It is the natural order. Admiral stepped forward, her uniform decorated with medals from the recent battle. The strong, she asked. You mean the species that just lost 83 ships against a race of prey creatures? The strong who now sit in the back row while their war master waits in a prison cell? The fell silent. Strength is not about size or claws or the ability to destroy, continued. Strength is about standing together, fighting for what is right, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That is what humanity believes. That is what we will build. A movement in the far corner of the hall. A delegation rose to its feet, the gray-skinned who had watched silently during humanity's first visit. Their ambassador, a being called Rill, walked toward the central platform. The collective was rejected by this conquered 2,000 years ago, Rill said. We were told we were too small, too quiet, too strange. We have watched from the edges ever since, ignored and dismissed. Rill turned to face the assembly. We watched the humans come before you with open hands, asking for nothing but a chance. We watched you laugh at them. We watched you allow their slaughter. The ambassador's voice grew stronger. And we watched them rise. We watched them fight not for conquest but for justice. We watched them offer mercy to enemies who gave none. Rill walked to stand beside. The collective will join the alliance of free worlds. We stand with humanity. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, from another part of the hall, another delegation rose. Small, furry beings that had always been overlooked by the larger species. They joined the alliance. Another group stood. The crystalline singers joined the alliance. More and more delegations rose, species that had been marginalized and mocked and ignored by the old powers. Within minutes, nearly a third of the assembly had pledged to join humanity's new alliance. Counselor watched his carefully maintained order crumble. This is madness, he said. You cannot simply create a new galactic power. The conquered has existed for 50,000 years. Smiled gently. Then perhaps it is time for something new. The galaxy is changing, Counselor. You can change with it or you can be left behind. She turned to the guards at the door. Bring in the prisoner. War Master entered the chamber in chains. His shell was cracked in places, his posture broken. He had once commanded fleets. Now he could not even meet the eyes of those around him. Sung stepped forward to face his former tormentor. You called us prey. You laughed at our petition. You ordered the murder of 60,000 innocent humans. Said nothing. What was there to say? I could hate you, Sung continued. I could demand your death. Many of my people want exactly that. He paused. But that is not who we are. You will stand trial. You will face justice. And then you will spend the rest of your life knowing that the prey creatures you despised were stronger than you ever imagined. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. You saw our bodies and thought you knew us. You never looked at our hearts. Was led away, his mandibles clicking in what might have been despair. Lieutenant Hana approached the assembly's central archive. In her hand was the data chip she had carried through the battle. She inserted it into the archive terminal. 60,000 names, she announced. Every human who died they will be recorded in the permanent archive of this assembly. They will never be forgotten. The names began to scroll across every screen in the hall. Men and women, elderly and young, children who would never grow up, families who would never come home. The assembly watched in silence. 6 months later, Ensign Young stood on the surface of Colony. He was 19 now, officially a member of Earth's Navy. Behind him, reconstruction crews worked to rebuild what had been destroyed. The wheat fields were growing again. New homes rose where ashes had once covered the ground. Children played in parks that had been craters. Life was returning to a world that had nearly died. Admiral stood beside him, looking out at the blue sky that had given the colony its name. The Alliance of Free Worlds now includes 47 member species, she said. The old Concord is smaller than it has been in 10,000 years. The galaxy is changing. Because of what happened here, Young said. Because of what happened everywhere. Because humans refused to be what the galaxy expected. Turned to look at a memorial stone that had been placed near the spaceport. It bore the names of the dead and a simple inscription. They did not surrender. Admiral, Young asked, do you think it was worth it? All the death, all the pain, just to prove a point. Was quiet for a long moment. We did not seek war. We did not want empire. We only wanted to be seen. She looked up at the ships visible in orbit, the fleet that had changed everything. And now the galaxy will never look away again. A child ran past them, laughing, chasing a ball through the new grass. Young watched her go and felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. The story of humanity was just beginning. And this time, no one would make the mistake of underestimating them.